senior Ottawa police official, spent most of today testifying at the commission looking into the use of the Emergencies Act. In February, Acting Deputy Chief Patricia Ferguson led efforts to end the protests that occupied streets around Parliament Hill. She was asked about the role the Emergencies Act played in police eventually clearing the streets.
Partly in doing this, the police used the powers given to the police by the Emergencies Act.
Yes, I think it assisted, I would say, grease the wheels of the plan that we had in place.
Yes, okay, yeah. Fair. So it assisted you in executing the plan?
Yes.
Because you used powers such as threats of seizure of vehicles, right?
Yes.
Threats of seizures of bank accounts.
Yes.
It helped you get tow trucks.
Yes.
It allowed you to prevent assembly in the red zone.
Yes.
So that things, I think we can say, fairly resolved more quickly and more safely because of those additional powers.
Yeah, and Superintendent Bernier may have more details on this. I understand that we had secured some tow trucks, but I would say, you know, in terms of the plan that we had in place, it allowed us to move with further confidence than we would have had, say, without it.
And the CBC's Karina Roman is following the inquiry closely and joins us now from Ottawa. So Karina, OPP Superintendent Craig Abrams is up now, but before that, as we saw, Acting Deputy Chief Ferguson testified for hours. What are the key takeaways from what she said?
Well, for those who are watching this all unfold in February and wondering what was taking so long, today was really a behind-the-scenes look, an inside look at what was going on at the Ottawa Police Services and a little bit also about the OPP. And you get a sort of sense of what was taking so long. There was just chaos behind the scenes. You know, words that were used today to describe, you know, either the former police chief himself, Peter Sloly, or just how the police themselves were feeling, struggling, floundering, divided, exhausted. There was clearly a clash of who would have the final say. So there was sort of power struggles. There was, do we be a more aggressive plan and really try and let's take these people down, or is it more a negotiated settlement with the protesters? There was a clash of personalities, clear clash of personalities, and there was a lot of turnover in the incident commanders. You know, there was just a sense that everyone wanted to come up with a plan, but all these internal struggles were preventing them from getting to a plan that we were all waiting for, that the RCMP and OPP were waiting for in terms of offering what numbers they could. Until they had a plan, they weren't willing to do that. We also learned that they were already hindered, the Ottawa Police Service, from the very beginning, in that they had a shortage of staff in terms of boots on the ground, that people had retired, and so the most experienced people weren't there anymore, that after 2 years of the pandemic, you know, people had sort of been out of practice in dealing with, you know, large-scale protests, and that when they made their decisions of a plan, even before the protesters arrived, it was based mostly on past experience as opposed to the intelligence that was coming in, that there was definitely a portion of people who were planning on staying a while. And that, in fact, is some of the testimony we're now hearing from the OPP. As you mentioned, he's now on the stand talking about how there was all this intelligence that certainly give a sense that there was a prolonged stay ahead of us, but that he and the OPP had to have faith in the OPS and the Ottawa Police Service, that they knew what they were doing.
And you mentioned testimony about a clash of personalities. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so clearly there was some heated exchanges, and of course this is all calls and notes from meetings that were probably never meant to be public, so we're getting a real fly-on-the-wall kind of view of this. But, you know, Ferguson talked about how people who are attracted to leadership positions in the police are often strong characters, that you had these personal conflicts between people, which meant you had a changeover in staff at very senior levels during the crisis, that in some meetings, Peter Sloly, you know, would have a very aggressive stance, that he seemed in some ways resentful of the OPP, even though they were there to help, because he wanted so much to stay in control of the situation and still be in command. Then there was a 7-point plan that was finally devised, but then we hear that anyone who wanted to even question what was in that plan felt like they couldn't do that. Have a listen.
I'll let you read it.
Sure. Anyone who undermines the operational plan, he will crush them. And I wrote in in brackets that he said it twice, and I noticed that his chin was twitching. I was kind of aghast at the comment, and that anyone who executes the plan will be supported. Takeaway was, don't bother arguing with anything that Patterson offers. Chief and he are in communication, and whoever gets in their way will be crushed.
What did you understand the chief to convey by those comments?
That this was the plan we were going ahead with, and that he didn't want to hear any further dissenting positions on it. This was where we were going.
Now, obviously, in cross-examination by one of Peter Sloly's lawyers, you hear a different take on some of the evidence, that is a different narrative. And of course, we're all looking forward to hearing from Peter Sloly when he testifies, because what they obviously tried to hint at today was that he was under pressures and facing a mounting pressure from so many different sides of things that really no one can understand what he was going through except for he himself. So clearly that's something that we can all look forward to hear his side of the story when that finally comes.
All right, Karina, thank you. The CBC's Karina Roman live in Ottawa.